to begin with, we could finish the wall. That'd be a start. That's
Is
where
it
I would
possible?
start. Yeah.
So there has never been a wall, right? There have only been plans to build a wall.
There has never been a wall covering 100% of the southern border.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the northern border I'm not too familiar with, but
Yeah.
there's lots of trees up there. Snow. There's what happened was back in the day they said, okay, let's put a wall right here because nobody's going to be dumb enough to go over that mountain.
Sure.
That didn't work very long. So in some places there's barbed wire fence, in some places barbed wire fence is laying on the ground. Some places we could drive my truck right into Mexico and get some tacos and come back.
Yeah, climb over a rock.
Yeah.
Not a huge one.
No, just drive right through.
Okay, so this is California. What about Arizona and Texas?
Same. There's big stretches without a wall. So the I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but the Tonopah, something like that, Indian reservation.
Mm-hmm.
That's just Wild West.
But that's because of the landscape as well? Because of the rocks,
No, because
hills?
it's Indian reservation
Yeah,
land. And so they are kind of patrolling the border on their own.
Really?
There's a lot of politics involved there, right? It's
So Indian
delicate.
reservations, they have their own police?
Yep. Like here, well, not all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them do. The Sequan reservation here, they are federal law enforcement officers, and they're also deputized by San Diego Sheriff, so they can uphold San Diego County's laws as well.
What about Texas? So Texas is, I want to say, flat, right? So you can kind of build the wall.
Yeah, I don't think the landscape or the geography is what's stopping it. I think it's politics that's stopping it.
Really?
So I have a friend who worked on the wall in Texas and a little bit here, and we went out and looked at. He's trying to go out before everyone else, look at the sections that need to be built or rebuilt, and just get ahead of the game here. So I took him out. We looked at a bunch of areas, and I said, how would you even do this?
Correct.
He said, look, you can do anything. Just give me the money.
So they're going to move the rocks?
Yeah. Helicopters, move the rocks, massive bulldozers.
So listen, if they can build Hoover's Dam, I won't say 100 years ago, or the Panama Canal, so they can move the rocks, they can build the wall.
Yeah. The Chinese have this really great one.
Like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. If they could do it without equipment, then what are we waiting for?
Bro, we've built some pyramids around the world, not only in Egypt, in Mexico as well.
Yeah,
and in Asia as well, too.
I think it's just politics holding this stuff up, and it's frustrating to watch.
So you've mentioned that the migration stopped up to 99%, right? So what has changed? Like, what changes have been made? Just a phone call? From now on, you do this, and that's it? That's all we needed for 4 years?
So this what's funny is that it was almost that simple. So the Remain in Mexico policy, where if you claim asylum, you can't come into the country and claim asylum. You can't come into the country illegally and then claim asylum.
Mm-hmm.
You have to claim asylum and remain in Mexico. Nobody wants to do that. If you were actually claiming asylum, you would do it.
Yes. You're waiting for the response, like, yes, you can enter the country.
Yeah. But you don't get all of these extra benefits remaining in Mexico. You don't have NGOs helping you. Well, that's not true. NGOs are helping people in Mexico. I don't want to give any of these NGOs any credit, but they aren't helping to the extent where they come here and they give you meals and food and tents and money. But that nearly overnight fixed everything.
Just a small phone call. Okay, so what's stopping government to build the wall? Trump? It's Trump's decision. It's Newsom's decision. It's DHS.
I think it's a little bit of everything. So
Trump can do it on his own, right? because he doesn't have the power. He's the president.
I think
Government can do it as well. DHS can.
so. I think they're leading up to him being able to do this by federalizing the whole border wall, which it already was federalized, but the what was it called, the Roosevelt Reservation.
Mm-hmm.
When he did that, now that allowed the military to come in and help.
Correct.
So now, I think he's teeing things up to be able to come in and just build it. So, and we don't have much time, right? We have 3 years now, 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the sections where there's not a wall currently are treacherous, mountains. There's the Tijuana River goes through one of the sections. So do we go along the side of the river? It actually, the border kind of cuts right through.
Mm-hmm.
So do we follow the river? You don't want to stop the river, right? So, or do we go way back here and then effectively give Mexico
A piece of land.
hundreds of acres?
Mm-hmm.
You're not really giving it to them, but if the border's way over here, then that's so. There's lots of things to consider, and they could override all the environmental stuff. No, I don't necessarily. I like hiking. I like the outdoors. I think we should be careful, but our safety is more important than anything else. So build the damn wall, but let's also make sure that we don't mess with the river.
Is it possible to build a wall in these 3.5 years?
I think so.
Did you ask your friend who's involved in this? With the wall?
Yeah, he's ready to go.
And he said
Champion
it's
at the
possible.
bit. Yep. So they'll put out different, I forgot what they're called, like bids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we want here, and this is exactly how we want it, and we want it to be able to have cameras every 100 feet or whatever they decide that they want. Then all these companies will bid on it and eventually get it. It's the bureaucracy that just takes so long.
Yeah, but how do you know that, for instance, Trump or his administration builds the wall in these 3.5 years, and then if a Democrat is being elected and he says, nope, turn off the cameras.
That's what happened last time. And then they started.
But did he start
wall.
building the wall back then?
Yes.
During his first. Really?
I actually. So.
He bought a lot of materials, right? That was sold by Biden administration. Is that true?
Yes. There's still stuff sitting out there on the ground, just sitting there. So long story short here, I had a motorcycle during his first administration, and they had these prototypes of the little, I don't know, maybe 30-foot sections of what different wall, how they were going to build the wall potentially. And then he flew down and actually looked. This was in Otay Mesa. So they were just, sections of the wall just standing up. And then he came down and looked at them. And then they picked one and they went with that. I think it was a 40-foot wall. So a lot of it was maybe 20 feet, and then they bumped it up to 40 feet.
Is that a huge difference?
Yeah.
I mean, so you can climb over 20 feet, but there is no way you can climb over 40 feet?
You can. But the problem is 20 feet, you got a sprained ankle. 40 feet, you get a tib fib fracture. So we started seeing that in the hospital a lot.
Oh, really?
So there's 2 hospitals in town, and they switch off. I think it's every month. I can't remember. But 1 month, one hospital will have the illegals, and then the next month, the other hospital will have it, the trauma centers. So we were inundated with that. Every other month.
So they climb over to 20 feet and then they jump off?
40.
Even 40?
Yeah. They don't jump out, they'll fall. They'll fall.
How do they
rope
climb?
Or they make these rickety ladders, sometimes out of rebar, sometimes out of rope. They come up with...
Yeah, but at the same time, bro, if they're saying that these are the asylum seekers, families, right? There is no way a child or a woman is going to climb even 20 feet.
Yeah.
Or 40 feet.
These aren't.
They will never jump off the 20 feet.
These aren't necessarily asylum seekers. These are people just trying to get here.
Yes.
At this point.
At all costs.
Yeah.
So they jump over. They get this trauma. They go to the hospital. They get treated, and they let them off.
Disappear. And you and I pay for it. That's what you go to the emergency room and you're there for 8 hours to get stitches. 'Cause
And no questions asked. Like, how did you get here? What's your document? Do you have a medical?
we live in sanctuary state.